I grew up in a moderate Republican family in Michigan, and I remember watching the Republican presidential convention. I think it was 1964, and being astounded when I saw a network television correspondent interviewing a woman about the forthcoming presidential campaign. It turned out to be Elly Peterson, and it made an impression on me because it was so rare to see a woman on the national political stage at that time, and I was very proud that she came from my home state of Michigan. As the years passed and I became interested in women's history and women's studies, I continued to follow her career, particularly when she became involved with the women's movement. And then late in life, I had the pleasure to get to meet her personally when she moved into my parents' retirement community in North Carolina. Yeah, it dates back to Elly Peterson's first job with the Republican Party, and her boss, Lawrence Lindemeyer, who was younger than she was, took to imitating a current radio show called The Aldrich Family that began with an exchange between a teenage son and his mother, and he responded by saying, "Coming, Mother." The name stuck, and over the years, more and more of Peterson's colleagues and proteges started calling her that, and she had no children of her own, so all of these people were very much like sons and daughters to her. Then over the years, late in her career, the press began to refer to her as well as Mother of the Michigan Republican Party. Yes, the click moment was a term popularized by Ms. Magazine in its inaugural issue, and it described the moment in a woman's life when something happens to her that awakens a feminist consciousness. When I asked Elly Peterson if she had a click moment, she knew right away when it was, and it was in 1965 when she was recruited to be chairman of the Michigan Republican Party after the party had suffered some devastating losses. And as she was preparing to go out on stage to accept this honor, the chairman of the State Finance Committee took her aside and informed her that they would not be able to pay her what her predecessor had earned because she was a woman, and instead of the $21,000 that he earned, she was going to make $6,000 less. Well, she was really in a bind. She really wanted the job, but she felt on the verge of tears. But what she did, I think, exemplified the kind of person she was. She went out on the stage, she gave a stirring speech for party unity, and she told all of those present that she was going to donate $6,000 worth of her salary, and she expected all of them to follow suit as well. She did it so well, in fact, that the press fell for the story, as did her male deputy, none of them realizing that she was never going to get the $6,000 in the first place. Well, there were two factors, I think. In the first place, over the course of her career, which was from about the 1950s to the 1980s, the Republican Party shifted away from her and turned more towards the right, and abandoning some of the positions that they had long supported, such as support for the Equal Rights Amendment, which was important to her. But at the same time, as she experienced discrimination as a woman, I think it led her to identify more with the concerns of women. And as she began to meet other women, particularly working on the Equal Rights Amendment, she began to associate her politics more with the cause of women than with the Republican Party. I think she would have been concerned because in the last election cycle, the number of women who were elected to Congress and the state legislatures actually declined after several decades. Second, she was very concerned by the growth of money in political campaigns, and particularly the growth in negative television advertising, and I think that's only gotten worse in the last few years. And finally, she would have been very concerned about the growth of polarization in our politics. She was a firm believer in bipartisanship and had many good friends who were Democrats. This is perhaps best exemplified by her friendship with Democrat Liz Carpenter, who was her co-chair with ERA America. In the summer of 1976, the two of them shared a house together in Washington when they were both actively working for opposing presidential candidates. It's hard to imagine something like that happening today.